everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, Bam. Donald Thomas. What's going on, Donald? Man, this week is a huge game for multiple reasons. Obviously, it's pre-wild card playoff game is what this is, right? This is win and you're in, lose, you're probably packing up and going home, right? And what is your initial thoughts about this upcoming game where the Indianapolis Colts will be hosting the Houston Texans?
Biggest game of the year. When you look at it from a standpoint of this is everything, comes down to win or go home. And so this is like the perfect storm created around this game for this to be the final game of the year. Divisional opponent, same record, same consequence, everything's the same at stake. And it's just a showdown, man. It's just going to be a showdown. It's going to go down. It's going to be a very physical game. And I think it might go down to the wire, being that it is a divisional game. It just makes it that much more physical and gritty. And just, I don't see it being a runaway game. I think this thing is going to be a freaking slugfest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to absolutely be a slugfest. We got a bunch of guys on the injury report right now from both teams, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that BetOnline is still your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NFL, NBA, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today. Get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we was kind of going over a little bit of the practice injury reports earlier in Houston. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness they have CJ Stroud back. All right. Because wow. Talk about their list of guys. Granted, it is a walkthrough, but they, it was a walkthrough today because we are recording on a Tuesday. But it's an estimation of what their participation would be for both these teams. And Will Anderson did not practice with an ankle. Beck did not practice with a calf. Noah Brown, their wide receiver, he didn't practice. Malik Collins, not practicing. Jonathan Greenard, not practicing. Sheldon Rankins, not practicing. Laramie Tunzel, not practicing. Robert Woods, not practicing. That entire Houston's team, like a third of their starters are not practicing. Now, I get, normally a lot of you are like, oh, well, that's just, it's Tuesday, a lot of rest, dealing with bang-ups and injuries and things like that. But you got to also remember that a lot of these guys are really actually hurt, that they've missed games like Tunzel and Greenard and Woods, So we'll see how it folds out. But, it's not great for the Texans. When you see a practice report like that, an injury report, what goes through your mind?
I take it with a grain of salt. A lot of things are done to throw the other team off when you look at injury reports. So that's one, right? Two, this late in the season, there's not going to be one guy that doesn't feel something. And so if he's a veteran guy or if he's a guy that's of high value, he ain't playing or he ain't practicing 2 days after a game. So, that's number two. Three, you just have to understand that probably is not going to be the same case come Friday or, when you got to give that final injury report in. So this early after a game, you can't look too much into that. But at the same time, I do understand that there are guys that are banged up and probably will not play out of that list that you just named. And that is going to be a big plus for the Colts moving forward into this game. But I can rest you assured that, they're going to have that list is going to shrink come closer to game time.
Well, it is a good possibility that it will shrink, obviously. Just like the Indianapolis Colts one. They didn't have as many people not on the not practicing side. But Kelly, Lamons, Nelson, they were the only ones that did not practice, all with ankle injuries. Good to see Kenny Moore back at a limited practice. Braden Smith at a limited practice because of his knee injury that he's been dealing with, this entire time. Um, and Tyquan Lewis. Most of these guys have injuries, but they're still listed as full practices, even though they have injuries, right? So I feel like the Colts are getting a little bit healthier as the season, is ending, and it's very important to get healthier, right? When you're coming up to, as you said earlier, the most important game of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all hands on deck. And if you watch our previous episode that we just did on the recap of the game, you see guys like Braden Smith who come back and fight through injury and leave it all out there on the field, just have a fighting chance to get into the playoffs. And so these guys understand that, the front office understands that, coaching staff understands that. And if you can make an impact on this game, now you can't be out there and be a liability. Like, there's a difference, right? If you're going to come out there and you're going to be a step slower because you don't have like that extra oomph in your step, or if you're going to be tentative and not hit, or you can't block somebody because you're banged up, catch the ball, whatever it is, you don't need to be out there. But if you can be out there and if you say, Coach, I'm 80%, and I can give you 100% of my 80%, I need you out there, because your 80% is better than 99.999% of the world when it comes to playing this football game. And so, all hands are going to be on deck for this game. You better believe it. That's why I said injury reports will shrink come game time for both teams, because guys are going to get out there and get active.
Yeah. So this is completely two different teams than what that faced off each other week 2 of this year, where the Indianapolis Colts beat the Houston Texans 31-20, and it was a pretty dominating performance. But was it really? Because it was one of those performances where the Colts have had like 4 of these this year, where they got outgained dramatically in yardage, where the other team had more first downs, had more time of possession, all of that, and yet still fell, where the Colts ended up on the positive end of the WL slot, right? Even though they were outgained and everything. CJ Stroud, that was his first game that he just blew up 300 and some yards and touchdowns and all that. And Stroud's been just consistently since then playing very, very good football. But he's missing a lot of pieces that he had earlier in the year. His rookie wide receiver is no longer there. He's on IR for the rest of the year, right? You got Robert Woods has been banged up, right? You got Noah Brown that's banged up. And this is a situation where it's all, to me, it feels like this game is heavily on the shoulders of that rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans for that team.
But if you look at it from a standpoint of when has it not been heavily on his shoulders all year, right? Like, they wouldn't be in the position that they are right now if they didn't have good quarterback play or decent quarterback play. And so, like, I want this episode to be just completely neutral, so that we all can go into this week with a clear mindset, right? And so, like, I'm going to start off by saying, like, CJ Stroud impressed a lot of people because you don't know what you're going to get out of a rookie quarterback. He blew up against us that game, and he kind of hasn't looked back since in a sense of, like, okay, we know he can play in the NFL. And we could talk about the injuries to the receiving core, but they've still been, stacking up wins, and they're still in the same position that the Colts are in.
Exactly.
It's going to come down to the better quarterback play at the end of the day. What offensive line is going to come into play and show up, and who's going to be able to run the ball consistently when we're looking at the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, man, there's just 2 different styles of defense here, right? And so there's the sit-back zone kind of concept that Gus Bradley has, and let your front 4 rush. And then Houston's got guys to kind of pin their ears back and they're gonna blitz some linebackers. They're gonna throw a lot of line stunts up front to get our offensive line to kind of move around and have to be able to pass twists off and stuff like that. And so it really comes down to turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. Like we said, Minshew's been 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions the past few weeks. So we're going to need that to be another consistent on his resume to be safe with the football. And then we also just need to confuse. See, that's one thing about sitting back, and it's not a knock to Gus Bradley because he knows what he's doing. But when you have a rookie quarterback, sometimes sitting back in the zone is a lot easier for him to read and try to pick apart and find the hole in the zone than it is to confuse him with exotic looks and blitzes and stuff like that, right? And so, you let a guy like that sit, but there's a positive to it too, because he can't really take off and run like how he wants to run when you're in zone, because you got guys sitting in zones around the field as opposed to man coverage where you can run everybody off and just drop back and take off. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's one mastermind against another. When you look at the head coaches, when you look at D'Amico Ryans, he's defensive guy. He's going to have some stuff cooked up. You look at Shane, and Shane's going to have some offensive stuff cooked up. And it's really going to come down to who can out-coach and out-think each other throughout this week, right? And this is why you made your hire in Houston. This is why you made your hire in Indianapolis, so that you can have a coach that can scheme and out-scheme the other team. And this is going to be a game where I guarantee you, man, these head coaches will be up past midnight all the rest of this week and putting in new stuff. We got to stop putting in new stuff come Thursday, because you don't have you have to let the guys play. But there are going to be a couple of new wrinkles that the Colts have never seen, and a couple of wrinkles that Houston's never seen come this game, because this is the game where you pull them out at. This is when the annexation of Puerto Rico comes into play. If we're all little Giants fans, for those that are younger than, if you grew up or was born past 95, you probably don't know. But the annexation of Puerto Rico was that final trick play that the little Giants ran to beat the Cowboys. And so it's going to have something like that where, man, it's going to come down to a fake punt. Don't be surprised to see a fake punt in this game, or a fake field goal or something like that, right? Because this is just one of those games you got to pull out all the stops.
I don't think the Colts have had a fake punt this year. They just straight went for it, without, trying to fake anything. But look, Houston's front four, it reminds me a lot of the Colts when it comes to just how effective they are, right? I mean, they got 4 guys. Now, granted, like I said, Jonathan Greener did not play last week due to injury, and he is the dude over there, 12.5 sacks on the season, right? But Will Anderson, the rookie's got 7 sacks. Sheldon Rankins got 6 sacks. Malik Collins got 5 sacks. Now, a couple of those guys, like I said, not practicing, but it's going to be a very, very huge task on, like you said earlier, which offensive line is going to win out against the defensive line, in my opinion, and hold off on, the blitzes and different packages and stuff of that nature, because no matter who's sitting back at quarterback, whether it is a young rookie Stroud or a wily vet like, Gardner Minshew, pressure changes games, period. And you got to be able to let your quarterback have those 2.5, 3 seconds, during a game in order to be able to, look around and feel comfortable in that pocket. Don't let him feel hurried all the time, no matter who is back there. So it's again, to me, it feels like it's going to be a trenches game. And I think it's going to have a lot, not just on special teams like what you're talking about. I think you're going to see some weird defensive looks, right, to try to confuse offensive plays where you're going to, try to hide maybe a cover 0, right, or something of that nature, where you might have an outside corner blitz, right, and where the free safety might take over, his position and, move some guys around, things of that stuff you don't see a lot, especially maybe not so much with the Colts, but But with this Houston team, D'Amico Ryans, he's known for, like what you said, bringing up some pretty wild looking blitz schemes, and the Colts got to be ready for that.
Yeah, man. This is one of those times where, if you can think it and draw it up and you've seen them run it before, you better be practicing it. And this is for both teams, right? So, you're going to see some crazy exotic stuff, and that's only to confuse. And it might just be a base defense that they're running, but they make it look crazy before the snap, and then everyone kind of falls back into place. You see that a lot, man. You see, like when I was playing, like we called it magic, but it was when all the defensive linemen, they were just walking around, literally just walking around. The defensive tackle will be outside of the offensive tackle, and defensive end will be, act like he's about to, run in there, and then they're all just moving around. And before the snap of the ball, then they all hit their right spots. They hit it, right? So you have to decipher who's down, who's up, who's a linebacker, who's not coming. All right, those 4 are down. We know those 4 are down. So no matter what, we're blocking those 4 first. We're just declaring who the mic is, and then we just kind of like, make our line calls and go about it that way. So you're going to see crazy stuff, man. You're going to see something that you haven't seen before. And just all it is like, don't try to do too much. Play within yourselves, play for each other, and just understand what the game plan is and trust in your techniques and fundamentals. And it just comes down to football one-on-one after that. There's going to be nothing that there might be something that you've never seen before, but at the end of the day, if you apply your blocking rules to it, you will be fine, right? You have to be able, that's where the smarts come in, and be able to, be able to decipher something that fast is what makes you an elite player.
This is a game I feel like, we talked about, where defensively for the Texans, he's going to bring out some things. Shane Steichen, don't hold back this game, right? You got some plays that you ain't played yet this year. I'm sure you do. It comes into situations, bring them out, right? Use them, because this is a game. It's all or nothing. And look, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I want to be shocked. I want to be like, well, that's something I ain't seen before. That's what I got used to seeing that in the first half of the season with Shane Steichen on his plays. I was like, well, that was neat. I like that. That same formation on that RPO, and you got 4 different freaking things you could do out of that formation with the exact same look. That's pretty dang on awesome. I want to see some stuff like that, because to me, I think that kind of stuff where, you got the same exact formation, same movement, same motion, everything, but you can do 4 different things with that same thing, and let the quarterback decide, what's happening right there, from looking over the defense and going, well, we're going to run it now, or we're going to pull it and have him run it, or I'm going to run it, or I'm going to throw it, or whatnot. That's some stuff I'd like to see. Keep the defense guessing, make them commit to something, and, you can then play off of that commitment.
Yeah. They gotta, I'm telling you right now, this is the game that these coaches are going to be up all night, and it's going to come down to them getting their players to believe, right? Like them understanding it. And honestly, Houston's in a tougher spot. Like, let's be clear. Houston's in a way tougher spot to get that message conveyed to the players by the head coach, just because of the youth, the inexperience, especially at quarterback, right? Like, this is something where this moment could be too big for CJ. It just might just be too big for him. Or he could become a man overnight and rise to the occasion. But we don't know until Saturday at 8 o'clock. So this is going to be interesting to see, because the message has to get conveyed to the players. It's all or nothing. And they know it, right? So who has the locker room won over the best? Excuse me. I don't know. Is it Houston or is it Indy? And like I say that because when I go back to this all the time, but we were in that little playoff race, we had checked out as a team. As much as the coaches stayed up, stayed after, stayed late, came in early, beat it into our heads about winning, and we went out, we go to playoffs, yada, yada, yada. It didn't matter. We were checked out. So who has the locker room? Shane or D'Amico? Right? Who's got the locker room? It's a tougher sell for Houston because now we got to fly all the way up to Indy. I got my rookie quarterback coming off of a concussion. I got some guys that are banged up. I don't know if everyone is bought in or believes in this situation. And the Colts are like, yeah, come on. We play well at home. We do, we play well at home. We're on a little roll. We had a great win last week, right? Like, we understand. Like, I read Jonathan Taylor's post-game interview, and he was talking about how guys understood the severity of the situation. So they're starting to understand what's going on and what needs to be done, right? So they both believe in what needs to get done. It's just now it comes down to who's going to play for each other and who's all bought into the coaching staff.
Oh, this is a huge, monstrous game. I mean, prime time, Saturday night football, right? I mean, this is huge. And here's the deal. You talk about how it's a little tougher for the Texans. Home field advantage is important. And this is a prime time game. You're going to have the entire nation watching, and you're going to be sitting in Lucas Oil Stadium in a very ruckus crowd for a fan base that knows what's on the line. Been wanting to get back to the playoffs this whole time. It's going to be incredibly loud. You talk about how, it's an uphill battle for the Texans. They got to deal with crowd noise. And that is a real thing in certain stadiums. In Indianapolis, Peyton Manning has trained the Indianapolis Colts fans on when to be dead silent on offense. And then when the defense is out there for the Colts, to be incredibly loud to try to make it difficult for the quarterback to, make his motions and different stuff of that nature at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be important. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're going to be at the game, be as loud as you can, especially on third down.
I guarantee you that Houston's going to be pumping in some crowd noise at practice. I guarantee that they went out and got some super big speakers. And they are blasting the music. They are blasting artificial crowd noise in there all practice, all week, so they can get used to just for it to be chaotic a little bit. I guarantee the coaches are probably going to make things a little bit more difficult. They probably won't have pads on, so it's going to be flying around week at practice for both teams. And it's really just going to come down to, who's going to be more of a veteran, who has more leadership on the team, who's going to have guys dialed in and locked in. But yeah, man, they're going on the road. They have everything stacked against them for this game. Everything. And the Colts, if they take advantage of it, they can take advantage of those disadvantages that Houston has, right? And so, like I said, we can throw all this talk out the window because, once again, this is a divisional game, and anything goes in a divisional game. And it could be a team that they could be 0-15, 0-16 at the end of the season, and it's a divisional game, and they're going to fight like hell, just like last year when the Colts packed it up when they went down to Jacksonville. So anything can happen in this game. They just have to come out and play like they played in all the times that they've gotten wins this year and forget about the losses, but they have to learn from those losses to not make those same mistakes for them to be able to win this game, right? And so getting after the quarterback, confusing him, having guys really dialed in the back in the backfield for us, right? So because we need a solid running game in this game. We need a solid running game. I see the frustration, but we really need it, man. This is a crucial time to take the pressure off of Minshew, so we're not forcing him to have to constantly throw the football, because at the end of the day, as well as he's played these last few weeks, there's still a little bit of holding your breath a little bit, right? And no one can tell me that they're just fully confident in everything he's been doing. So they have to come out and play well, man.
Yeah, see that I had that look in my face for a reason. They got a really good run defense, the Texans do. They only allow 3.3 yards a carry. I mean, that's outstanding in the NFL, right? And you talk about how you need to run the ball. That's so important for the Indianapolis Colts, just for everything that the Indianapolis Colts does. Get the passing game going, help protect Minshew, eat clock, control the game, things of that nature. But the thing that I'm worried about is something that I've noticed from Steichen. If you're not getting 4, 5, 6, 7 yards of carry every time you carry the ball, Steichen seems to kind of pull away from the run game a bit. I've noticed that. And in my opinion, if you just get 3 yards in the first quarter, per carry, at least you're getting some positive yards and you're forcing the defense to respect the run game every time you line up for a play action or RPO or something. It may not be there early, but the more you do it, the more likely it's going to be there later on in the second half of the game. And I hope that I'm not saying it will, but if the run game is not really super effective in the first half, Shane Steichen doesn't just completely go away from it,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't go away from it, but also we have to see what the score is too, right? And so,
well, I mean,
yeah, but I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. Like if it ain't, big time runs, he's like, all right, I'm just gonna throw the football, and we don't revisit the run game, and so I can see the frustration in that. But here's the deal, like. Hopefully it comes down to us just having to eat clock and just run the football, pound it out, as opposed to, not having the success that he feels we should have in the run game. Then you should start throwing the ball for the rest of the game. And now we throw a pick because of it, or we get somebody banged up or at it, so I'm with you, man. This game is going to come down to the wire, point blank period. I don't see it being a blowout. If this is a blowout, I'll be highly shocked. I would really be shocked that either one of these teams didn't show up. And so this is a game where these are the games that you want to play for, like playing as a player. Like, these are the games that you're juiced up for, man. Like, this is the game where, like, I'm probably going to get home right about now, and I'm cracking the iPad open. I'm still watching film. Like I'm hungry. I want this win because hell, this is to get into the playoffs, and we'll just see what happens after that. But let's just get in first, right? So this is one of those games where, man, this makes me want to suit it back up, but I know good and well my body will fall apart.
Absolutely. So it's time to get into the game's predictions. Donald, who you got winning and why?
Well, I have the Colts winning this one. I got them winning by a field goal. I'm going to say 3 points. Or less, to be honest with you. But I laid it out of why. Inexperience, travel, away game, just lack of leadership. But on the other hand, the Texans do have a players coach that they're all playing for, a guy that knows how to get these guys riled up. And you have a firecracker and a young quarterback, they can create a spark. I just don't know if it's time yet for him to be the guy. I think they're building a solid foundation, but I think this is where it stops at in Indianapolis on Saturday night.
I got the Indianapolis Colts winning. I got it kind of similar kind of feel to how the Raiders game was for the Colts, where it's going to feel like the game is a lot further away than what the score actually is, because I feel like the Colts are going to move the ball between the 20s, but then settle for a lot of field goals, and that's going to be a problem. Got the Colts winning 23-17. All right. So think about 23. That's a lot of field goals. All right. To get to that number under normal circumstances, that's 2 touchdowns and then 3 field goals. So, or 4. Yeah, 3 field goals.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
9 plus 4.
But when you got a guy like Matt Gay, you can rest comfortable every time you come to a situation where it's 4th and 4, right? Or something of that nature. Let him go out there and put points on the board, right? That's how I see it. It's all about taking points where you can get them, because at this point you need to take the points when you can get them, right? Obviously, unless you're down 3 scores or something. But this is a game where I feel like it's going to be kind of back and forth, like you're talking about, where the Colts might get outgained offensively in this game, but I feel like the Colts will score when it matters. When they get to the other side of the field, they'll get far enough to where if they're not get in the end zone, they'll at least get points on a touchdown or something. So, or on a field goal. So, yeah, this is one of those games where they could get beat, like I said, on all the important stats except for the final score.
Right. Yep. I'm with you 100%, man. You're right on that. So, we'll see. I think the Colts have the edge here, but like I said, this is a divisional game. Anything can happen. Obviously you want to see the Colts make the playoffs, and get back in. It's been a few years, and so hopefully they can, right the ship, and it starts, Saturday night.
Absolutely. Can't wait to watch the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video. And if you're listening to this on any platform for audio podcast, make sure you leave a review and share this to your favorite social media. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That was Donald Thomas. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?